You're listening to the Business Marketing Show, episode number 12. You can find us at businessmarketingshow.com or on iTunes.
Hello and welcome to the Business Marketing Show. I am Brendan from the Search Engine Shop and I'm here with my co-host, Edward from Online Impact. How are you today, Edward?
Now, Brendan, behave yourself. Now, Brendan knows I don't like being called Edward, so call me Ed, Brendan.
Okay, Ed. Sorry,
you're just
Ed.
saying that because you're far away from me. You know I can't hit you.
I just told everybody you don't like to be called Edward, you realise?
That's it. I'm going to get all sorts of weird messages now. It's on you, buddy. How are you, Brendan?
Today? I'm good.
I don't know. You tell me what we're talking about today.
I think we're talking about content today and content marketing and marketing automation. I guess we're probably not really going to go too deep on it, but we'll probably introduce the topic. But like we were talking about before we hit record, a lot of people have a problem, or a lot of clients that we work with have a problem with their website that they need to rank it high, but it doesn't have enough content on there to actually rank it. So, a core Google concept is that Google wants to rank the most relevant results. So if you want to rank for a specific page on the website, a specific search term, you're actually going to need a page of content on the website that matches that search term. So that's why I think a solid conversation around content and content marketing is probably a good idea. What do you think?
Absolutely. And it seems like a very obvious thing that if you want to promote a particular keyword term, that the page of content on your site needs to match that. But it seems to escape a lot of people. So hopefully this will get it straight in their minds.
Yep. So I guess two things here. So the one is, if you want to rank for a term, you need a page of content on the website about that term. So, if you're a plumber, you really should have a page on your website, a services page that talks about your plumbing services. And then breaking down that further, there's probably 50 different things you do as a plumber, like dishwasher installation, washing machine installation, gas barbecue installation, all sorts of stuff like this. So really, for each of those search terms as well, you're going to need a page of content around those. So I guess that's the first concept. So a page per search term, would you agree?
Yes, a page, absolute stretch, maximum 2, but that would be pushing it. It would have to be a very closely related keyword phrase to the main one that you're trying to market. It can't be something completely off track. So, but that'd be it. You can't have 10 different keyword terms that you're trying to optimize on one page. Just doesn't happen. Yeah.
So a page of content per keyword, and then also you need thick content. So there's this concept of thick content and thin content. Now, thin content is a page with not much text or not much content. So that's what we call thin content. And thick content would be, a long detailed page with plenty of images, maybe some videos, and sort of in there as well. Now, there's a couple of reasons why this is important. Number one is, you need to explain your service or your offering to customers. So it needs to be more than just a couple of lines on a page with a photo. But number two is Google actually penalizes sites with a lot of thin content. So we've seen this with a lot of clients, and there was an algorithm update, a Google search algorithm update about 4 weeks ago that actually penalizes the algorithm is around penalizing sites with thin content. So if you have a lot of pages on your website, but there isn't much content on them, there's a good chance that you could be copying some sort of partial Google ranking penalty because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the content and thin and thick content, talking on those subjects, one of the questions I was asked by a client the other day is how often should they produce this content? Now, is there any rule to how often it should be in terms of, is there a minimum and is there a maximum, or how does that work?
I'd say there's no minimum or maximum, but I would say, let's flip that on its head. You probably should have a content and a marketing calendar that kind of dictates how often you're going to do certain things in your business. So this concept was introduced to me by one of my friends who actually does some marketing for our company, and this idea of a content calendar. So, certain things happen on certain frequencies. So, for example, if you're an e-commerce business, on your content marketing calendar, you probably want to do a monthly mail out that's, just a broad newsletter type mail out with what the new products are in the store, any discounts and any news, I guess. So that would be one example there. But I think that it's not a question of how often should I be updating my website, which is, we get this, I know you do too, we get this question in the workshops quite a bit. It feels like a frantic question, and it feels like people are looking for the quick answer, but the answer is you need to have a marketing calendar and stick to it. Yeah. It really needs to dictate everything that's happening in there. And like even things like if you're running Google AdWords, you probably need to do a monthly review. Like in a past episode, we talked about that you shouldn't be DIYing it, and we both believe and agree that. But you need to be sitting down and looking at the AdWords reports themselves.
Yeah.
And being familiar with how much you're spending and what you're getting out of that. Like you need to set aside time each month to do that. And I can guarantee you that probably most of my clients aren't doing that. But yeah, I mean, this is the idea of a marketing content and marketing calendar, I suppose.
No, that's very, very good. And having it scheduled in to do and knowing the right peaks and troughs of where you should be filling in your marketing efforts is important. And I was sitting looking at some analytics data with a client the other day, talking about this very subject, and we could see, looking at the graph on their Google Analytics data, they had all these peaks. And I said, now, these peaks I'm going to guess are either an email blast you've done or you've written some new content or done a blog post or something. She goes, yes, blog post. And their traffic had pretty close to double on any of the times they've done those blog posts. So what does that tell you? I said, you need to be more consistent, because they had quite a lot of gaps between when they had these higher peaks, because they were only doing, one blog post every couple of weeks. So I said, well, if you increase that, you're going to have more content over time that's going to build up onto your repertoire and what you've got on your system. And then anytime you put those out there, you're going to bring in some new traffic. So I don't think there is I think there is such a thing as not enough. Like if you're not doing anything, that's definitely not enough. But there isn't. I read blogs that do, 20, 30 posts a day on some of the ones that I read. So I don't think there's a maximum. If you've got stuff to say and it's relevant to your marketplace and it's valuable, then there isn't a maximum in my world.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference between frequency and quality too. So
definitely,
it's better to do better quality stuff with less frequency rather than trying to churn something out just because you have to do it every day. One thing that I do, because we both get asked a lot of questions about stuff and technical questions, and we're explaining things a lot. So one thing I do, if I'm asked a question more than once or twice, I will turn that into a piece of content, so a blog post, or like this podcast partially is because I've been explaining to a lot of clients lately that this website's never going to rank unless we get some pages with this content on there. So, yeah, like for me, it's like those frequently asked questions are perfect for my market because they're questions that people are actively looking on the web for. And it also saves me time in the future. Instead of having to rewrite the same email 50 times, I can just send them a link that they can read on the website.
Yep, absolutely. So now, a lot of people have in their head, probably when they're hearing the word content, most people are associating that with written content, which is true. A high percentage of what we're talking about is based on written content, but we have other types of content like video content or ebooks, which is still written content, but it's not necessarily something you've got that's readable straight away on your site. So there are other types of content that you can produce, and some of the content doesn't have to be written by you. So there's all sorts of sources on where you can get it done. So whereabouts would you recommend, other than in-house writing, which is usually the best place, but often we find with clients that they have limited time to do the creation of the content. So do you recommend going and outsourcing it to content creation companies?
Well, it depends on what the content is. So let's talk about the different types. So you've got, let's say, a monthly newsletter.
Yep.
You've got the the sales and marketing copy on the website, the kind of core central website copy.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got kind of blog article copy. And a lot of people are confused, particularly in the business space, around blogs. Like we get a lot of questions about, should I be doing blogging? And that's really not a good question to ask. I guess the blog would be better off thought of as a news section of your website, and also a section where you can put pages and work, like a portfolio of your work, without kind of gunking up the rest of the website. Like if they're, a perfect example is Matt from Photography Project, who we both know and work with for a long time, and he does workshops with us. So they do all sorts of different commercial photography, and it's not possible for him to have 400 services pages on his website. So his blogging strategy, which is really, that's a bad term. I prefer content strategy, content marketing strategy, is every time he does a new type of photography, for example, let's say coffee cup photography, he will create a new blog article on the website with a blurb of text explaining the job and, some information about it and what was tough, or, whatever problems they had to solve, and with some example shots from that photo shoot. So then what happens is, all of a sudden, when people are looking for coffee cup photographer, or looking to get coffee cup photography done for their website or products or whatever, because Matt has a page on his website about that, even though it's in the blog section, will still rank very high. So I'm a bit off tangent there, but
no, not at all. It is relevant in that sense. So you have to know how to structure your content and what's relevant to your marketplace, because there's no, as you said before, there's no point willy-nilly just writing stuff just for the sake of doing it. It needs to have focus that's going to help your target market. And the whole aim is, if people read some good content on your website about a particular subject, you want them coming back to read all the other content you put out. So if you put out a piece of crap, people are going to go, this is rubbish. And anytime they see something from you in the future, they're probably not going to come back. You can be forgiven occasionally for writing something not as good as other articles you've done, but if you're going to produce the content, it's really important now to start making sure that it's top notch.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we had newsletters, like the pillar core content, blog articles, and then I guess you got video content and photos and things like that as well. So I think that you absolutely should be doing your own blog articles, because it's a bit more of a casual, I guess the tone and the way it's written can be a bit more casual there and a bit more short and sharp. I think you should probably be doing your own monthly newsletters, but you need to be doing it in a way that works. Now, we have another podcast episode about email marketing where we talked about some of the just easy things you can tweak to make email marketing work better.
Yeah.
I think the pillar and core content, like the sales content on the website, I think you need a professional to write that. I don't think that most business owners are probably too close to the business to handle that properly. And I've actually just started we've hired a new marketing company to rewrite a lot of our marketing, because I'm too close to our business to be able to write it effectively. So I think a lot of business owners are victims of that, being too close to the business kind of syndrome.
So
go ahead.
So what do you do when you get a scenario where it's a very technical subject? And in situations with clients I've got, they could be a dentist or an accountant or a lawyer. So you can't just pluck people out of a content writing service to do a lot of that type of content creation, because it's very, very important that it's correct and that, they're putting their reputations on the line. You would expect, if they're getting content created outside of themselves, that they would make sure they read everything. But I know certainly some people don't. They just get the content and stick it up, and then they go, oh, that's not very good, when it's already too late and been published. So what do you recommend for that, where it's a very technical subject and the person who runs the business is really probably the best to write it? Are they stuck with having to do it themselves?
Yeah, I don't think so. So that's like, I guess you're talking about like where the technical quality of the work makes a big difference. And we have some dental clients, and the approach that we've taken with them is getting the dentist to write. If it's about teeth whitening, for example, a lot of different dentists have different techniques, and there's ultrasound and there's bleaching. Don't quote me, but there's different schools of thought on teeth whitening. So for them, I say, write the core content yourself and do it write it in the same way you would explain it to a patient that is sitting in the chair. Explain why one method works better than the other and how it works and all that sort of stuff. If you put that on a page, then once it's down there, someone else can massage it and tweak it and change the structure a bit and add some headings into it and tell you where you need photos and polish it so it's ready to go public. So even for me, so with our new marketing company, I told them what I wanted and explained why we do certain things our way. They went away and wrote the content, and then I probably polished it and tweaked it and changed stuff so it was technically correct or the way we do work. So I think you definitely should have a hand in the content, and you can either get someone else to start it and then you finish it off and put the polish on it, or you can start it and get someone else to put the polish on it. It just depends on, I guess, your own personal preference and how much time and energy you have to put into these sort of things.
Yeah, and it is really important to make sure you sample some of the work before you get too committed with a content writing company or a person if it's an individual. But once you find them, they're worth their weight in gold. If you get into a good flow and a good rhythm of what is required, and they understand you and they know how you want things done, it's worth what you're paying for the articles to get written. And usually it's quite inexpensive. What would people expect to pay, Brendan, for good quality content writing these days? Because I know the prices vary a lot, but you get what you pay for ultimately.
Yeah, I mean, for a small business, I sent someone some ballpark pricing in the last week, and I think it was around $300 a page. So, and that's probably middle of the road, I guess. You could hire, there are sales copywriters who charge tens of thousands of dollars for one sales letter because it generates results. So really it's about the ROI. So if you build a website, so say you're building a website from scratch or rebuilding a website, you probably need 5 to 8 pieces of content. So, you're probably looking at about $2,000 to write that content. Now, it's important to keep in mind that the work really isn't in the writing. The work is in the consulting that goes into getting the information out of you to build, to actually write whatever it is well.
Yeah.
So a lot of people laugh and it's like, it's $300 for a page of content or 500 words, but that's the result of all the other work that goes into it. The other time and consulting built around it.
Yeah, for sure. But, the thing is, if they're not going to do it themselves, then
exactly
it's not going to happen. And then they won't get any results at all. So,
yeah, it's kind of like a bit like design. There's some, you wouldn't design a website from scratch. You'd use a designer. So the same sort of concept applies. Like you don't write the content from scratch, use a content writer. Although with the designer, you have input, the same thing with the content writer. So, yeah, I think that's the kind of thing there. But what else we got? So the other type is video and photo content. What are your thoughts on, because I do some of our own video. What are your thoughts around video, Ed?
Yeah, very important. I think it's something that you definitely cannot ignore. I think a lot of people have a hang up with video thinking that they have to be in the videos themselves, which is not the case. They can have animation style videos done where there's, voiceover talking with images that are pulled in, and there's a lot of great software that can do that for you pretty inexpensively now. So I would suggest if you're going down the path of doing your video content yourself, I personally think if you are the main person that's running the company, it's a good idea to show your face. But it's very strong. We've just started doing some now for my wife Lois, and we've just bought all the green screen backdrops and the lighting and all that sort of stuff. And it's ridiculously cheap now on eBay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We picked up the whole set with the green screen backdrops and a black screen backdrop and a white screen backdrop and lighting umbrellas and light stands and all the whole thing. It was like $180 delivered to our door. And we already had the camera and stuff like that. And you buy a microphone. So you could probably get set up to do a decent recording process, definitely for under $1,000. And now that's where you might want to start outsourcing. Once you've actually produced the raw footage, you can outsource and get it done by someone that's good at editing. We're giving that job to our daughter right now just to help her learn a few extra things, and she's going to muck around with that. But there's many options, but video, I mean, look how much video is on YouTube, and that's another great source of traffic. It's another way of building your credibility and your authorship, talking about content. So I personally spend quite a lot of time looking at stuff on YouTube, particularly in the marketing space, and the companies that get most of my attention are the ones that, produce good quality videos. So I think it's crucial, if that's the sort of path you want to go down, is to do good quality video.
Yep, I agree. I think there's a tendency to think that video is a magic bullet and that you can just DIY it with an iPhone. I think there are a lot of I love videos, so I've gotten into video stuff in the last 12 months, and it's been amazing. And I think it's an awesome way to replicate yourself. Like, both of us effectively sell services, so there's only, there's so many hours in the day, but using video is a good way that I can clone Brendan and have me explain the same thing while I'm asleep at night to people looking at the website. But I think there's a lot of other things that I guess there's this syndrome where small business owners get fixated on something's going to be the best and they need to do this. And I've seen clients spend $2,000 or $5,000 getting professionally done video, which really just looks like a TV ad, which that actually doesn't work on the web. If anything, the worst type of video you can have, and it may turn off customers, is having an ad on your website, which it just doesn't work. So I think that there's two streams you can go. You can get a professional to do it and help you with it. And I think that's important, but it's that's not a TV ad. It's completely different to TV. No one actually likes watching TV ads. People have set-top boxes that get rid of the ads and all sorts of stuff. So people try and avoid that. What they like is genuine, personal videos that feel good and make them feel good. So if that's the type of video you want, or the video testimonials is another good one as well, that they feel authentic. Yeah. So I think that there's the route with getting professionals to do it. And then there's, I guess, taking your consulting, if you're a services business, taking the way you do the services and taking that online, which is the approach that we use with video, I use with video. And I think there's absolutely scope to DIY it, but at the same time, there's a minimum standard you need to hit. If you don't hit that standard with video, it's actually going to hurt you versus helping you.
Yeah, too true. And there are some shocking examples of very poorly done videos. So I think it's important that the video quality needs to be good. The sound quality needs to be good. So invest in a lapel mic or some type of mic that doesn't make you sound like you're far away from the camera, and lighting, and go for it. And then good quality content. So it doesn't have to be too slick. I think over slick is it puts people off. And go out and do some experimenting. And go just watch what other people are doing. Pay attention when you do a search on Google and you see for any particular keyword term. See what videos are showing up, if there are videos turning up for that subject, and watch those, because usually they're showing up because they're very popular on YouTube or getting a lot of traffic, or and they're usually either very relevant or very funny or very topical. So have a look. Yeah.
I think before we close off, there's probably one other thing to cover on just this concept of sales and marketing automation. So in a previous episode, we talked about MailChimp and how if you're doing email marketing, that's probably the best place or best tool to start with. And I think we also mentioned Infusionsoft in that episode, which is the next step up from email marketing. You go to sales and marketing automation, which effectively takes a lot of your sales processes and marketing stuff and emails and all that sort of stuff and builds them into a tool that automates a lot of that stuff. So I've got Infusionsoft in our business, and it has automated a lot of the sales stuff. And basically, when I explain this sort of marketing to clients, the way I explain it is to take the first step of your sales process and bring that online. So if there are things that you have to explain to every single customer before they buy, or things they need to know, or a brochure, or they need to have, in every sale, they need to know certain things. There's almost a checklist of things they need to know before they buy. If you can bring that online through your website and through sales and marketing automation tools or email marketing, then you'll be massively ahead of the competition, because we're in the era now where it's no longer about just getting traffic to the website. That problem's solved. You can turn on AdWords and get traffic today. The hard part is in the conversion and selling them. So that's where, like we just talked about with the dentist, how I explained how if you write the content like you're explaining to them in person, that will work the best, because that's effectively taking that first part of the sales process online. And using sales and marketing automation, you can make that work even better. You can get their email address, you can send them some emails, follow up, ask for more information, and then have the tool start the sales process without you even needing to be there.
Too true. And it is a case of doing that so you can duplicate yourself. And as you mentioned before, like the videos, it can happen while you're sleeping. And it does often sound pie in the sky when you talk about businesses that work while you're sleeping, but there's tens of thousands, if not millions of them out there right now doing that very thing. So everything, the more automated you can get it, the better. So fantastic. Well,
cool.
I think that's enough to get people going on that subject. So we will pick up some more on that another time. But thanks, Brendan. Awesome.
Thanks, Ed. Fantastic. I'll catch you next week.
We will. Thanks for listening and see you soon. Bye.
Thanks, mate.
You've been listening to Business Marketing Show. You can find us at businessmarketingshow.com or on iTunes. Just look for Business Marketing Show.